Why?
Because I was walking, I parked in front of him,
Uh,
and saw John
oh, yeah.
over here.
Is he here?
Yeah, yeah.
The dog? Is he?
So I just had a few things here,
Yeah.
fairly minor, but um, of such responsibility. I just think that should be spelled out a little bit better. I mean, what responsibility
Sure.
we're talking about. And then here, should that be section 2 instead of 3? Because it defines the application in 2. Complete the application. And then, this is minor, but it won't be just the next bill, next several bills.
Right.
Right.
That was a change from Murphy. That was copied from his email. If you read it.
Yeah, yeah, but
that
I
was
mean,
him.
My point is, you're not going to consume it all in one bill.
You may. Let's say they consume a lot of water that month.
Oh, okay, that's
So,
true. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And then I thought last night they said that we couldn't do that.
He blessed it. He blessed it. So.
Okay, well,
Leave me. Can I have those? Can I have those?
Uh-huh.
No, I got him a thing. I got him a gift. Yeah, here we go. Here we go.
What? What are you talking about? For what?
The dog. Yeah, it's right here.
It's not a resolution, but it's a certificate of appreciation.
So you're gonna read it.
Yeah.
sleep last night.
Now listen.
Wonderful.
Oh, good.
Also,
the first time in
this guy
3 years.
It must have been the meeting.
Oh, no. I'm telling you.
Hey.
Filled it out. Like 11
What's
o'clock.
happening?
Out. The white side was out 20 minutes.
Is everybody
I
here
slept
tonight?
at
Yeah.
almost 7 o'clock.
Wow.
Hello.
Oh my God, it was.
So you should be good this evening.
I'm one eye.
I did not hear you.
So you traveling?
Tommy,
Yeah.
can we do this under consent or no?
Excuse me?
Can we put no? But I might not be here.
Well, then somebody else will introduce
Yeah.
it.
You'll be here.
Unless you want to add it
What do you
under
want?
consent.
I would prefer to put it under consent.
Well, then put it under
We
consent.
talked about it last night.
Okay, well then put it under the consent. Just say you want to amend the agenda by adding those two under the consent.
And I'll move it to take them out. Put them under new.
Well, is that what you're doing?
No, I'm only kidding.
Whatever.
Daggers.
I'm busy.
The mics are all on.
At my age,
What's the matter with
you
you?
ain't getting much with that one, Teddy.
Gosh.
It might be easy, but it'll be slow.
I picked up you this morning and putting the kids in the back seat.
When- I see you every once in a while. Did you see what they did? Now they've got Nesbitt Street.
I did see that. Oh my God.
Yesterday, then I'm ready to go down the wrong way, and the ladies are
You
going,
gotta
no,
block off.
because I'm saying, no,
What did you block? What did you block too?
not
Philadelphia
mine,
and Falk?
Berwick. They did.
Berwick. I
not
seen
all
that.
Berwick.
But last night I swear I seen a horse up on Falk and Philadelphia Road.
Well, I got through this morning, and
Well, we're getting there anyway.
it's just like I
Yeah, we
got,
put it
I
up
really
on
gotta go all around and everywhere to get back, just to get out to
It's amazing.
John Street.
I can talk about it, man.
Thanks, Roger.
See it?
We finally made it.
Yeah,
I'll read it then. That's fine.
digital too. Huh?
That's fine. Yeah, so I mean, yeah, I mean, only-
That's what I'm going to give you guys.
What o'clock?
They can do it under.
I know how to watch that.
They can do it. We'll do it
I think we're going to put it back in.
It should be.
right after our action on the minutes. Alyssa will have to. She'll pay back. I'll get payback. There'll be paybacks, Alyssa. Well, I feel safe tonight. I used to have the men in blue here. Feel safer anyway. Yeah, exactly.
Wait a minute, if the word.
I'll leave,
second day of the
I'll leave
assessment.
this up here. This is what you gave me.
Oh,
Okay.
that'd be good.
You got it.
6 o'clock. I'd like to call this stated session of City Council order. Please rise for the invocation, followed by the pledge of the flag. Tonight we seek your blessings on the task before us. Bless our efforts with clear insight, our deliberations with wisdom, our work with clarity and accuracy, and our decisions with impartiality. We also take this time to thank Francisco Vasquez, the recipient of our Civilian Service Award, and Officer Taco, who is retiring as our K-9 officer. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Brown?
Here.
Mr. Ettinger?
Here.
Mr. Milan?
Here.
Mr. O'Connell?
Here.
Dr. Ruggles?
Here.
Mrs. Volcano?
Here.
Mayor Panto?
Here. Approval of the agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Mrs. Volcano, Councilmember Volcano.
Yes, I would like to make a motion to amend the agenda by adding 2 resolutions under the consent agenda, involving the Main Street program and their applying for the Keystone Main Street Community Grant, community authorization.
I second the motion.
Moved in second. Discussions. Roll call.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mrs. Volcano?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Mr. Milan?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye. At this time, we move on
Excuse me,
to.
sir. A roll call on the amendment.
Oh, amended agenda. Roll call, please.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mr. Milan?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Volcano?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye. Action on the minutes of our September 11th meeting.
Move
Any-
to approve.
Moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Any additions, corrections, or deletions? Roll call.
Mr. Ettinger?
I abstain.
Okay. Mr. Milan?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Volcano?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye. At this time, we're going to add one item to the agenda because the gentleman has to leave for the airport. The DNL wants to read a letter into the record, and Alyssa, if you want to bring him up and introduce him.
Thank you. My name is Darrell Crook. I'm on the board of the Delaware and Lehigh National Heritage Corridor, and I appreciate this courtesy extended to our group. Thank you.
Excuse me, sir, your last name again?
Crook.
Crook?
Crook.
Don't
Thank
say
you.
that in front of those guys behind you.
Yeah, I know. I'm an honest crook. Dear Mayor Panto and City Council members, I write today to let you know how much we appreciate the partnership opportunities the City of Easton provides the Delaware and Lehigh National Heritage Corridor. Our location in the Humor Park along the Lehigh Canal is sometimes challenging, but also offers unparalleled access to unique historic assets that play an important role in the residents' quality of life and attracts visitors from afar. Working with your Public Works Department, we have been able to adapt to the growing profile of the DNL Trail, the National Canal Museum, our educational programs, and related special events. With each passing year, our partnership strengthens as the city, its residents, and the DNL organization benefit. It's been said that good government is one of the most important factors in economic growth and social well-being. Thank you for the opportunities provided through our partnership. Sincerely, Lisa. Thank you once again for this courtesy.
Well,
Thank
Alyssa,
you.
Excuse me, sir,
thank you.
could I get a copy of that letter?
Sure.
For the record?
I believe I sent it to everyone, didn't I?
No, sir, not myself.
Oh, didn't I get it to you? Oh, well, I know it to the council members. But Elisa, we want to thank you. It's a great partnership. Dave Hopkins is here, and certainly he keeps abreast of all that's going on down there. I love the special events. I love the dog parks. And the haunted park coming up is always fun.
Yeah, the Haunted Humor Park is coming up at the end of October, and that's another partnership that we have with the city. But above and beyond that, having the museum and the headquarters of the DNL in the park, and operating the Josiah White 2 canal boat. It's really the only fully operational section of the entire 165-mile corridor. And so it provides a very unique opportunity for us to connect people from Bucks County, throughout the Lehigh Valley, Carb, and Luzerne to these resources. And, without the partnership of the city, without the benefit of working with Dave Hopkins and Chris Sarko, it wouldn't happen. And this year we also, as you know, have built an additional storage facility to accommodate this expanding services and programs that we're doing, and it's a beautiful thing to see. And the park is, if people have not been there in the last year or so, you must go, because it is a completely different place because of the city's investment. Thank you.
Excuse me, ma'am. Your name, please?
Elisa Garofalo, Garofalo.
G-A-R?
O-F as in Frank,
O-F.
A-L-O.
A-L-O. And first name again?
E-L-I-S-S-A.
S-S-A. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. At this point, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Councilmember Milan, who will handle Officer Taco and Francisco Vasquez.
Okay, we have a certificate of appreciation being presented to Taco from City Council on behalf of the citizens of Easton for his years of service to the City of Easton in the Easton Police Department K-9 Unit from 2011-2019. Presented this 25th day of September 2019, signed by the Mayor and all of City Council.
Here he comes.
Captain, before you actually read that, if I could just say a few things.
I just read it.
Couldn't you read it again for me when I'm done? Chief Scalzo, Easton Police Department, 48 North 4th Street. We actually have a few things before you this evening. I appreciate the time. And like obviously we had just mentioned, we're going to begin with the retiring of K-9 Officer Taco. Before we even move forward, this is something we haven't done in the past, and Councilman Milan, I appreciate you kind of bringing this to our attention as something that we should be doing. When these K-9 officers retire and the dogs move on, it's important that we recognize the work they did. One thing that I have noticed, and I'd be remiss if I didn't speak of, is the extreme amount of work that goes into handling these dogs and the work that these dogs do. It's not a 10-hour job or a 12-hour-a-day job. It's a 24-hour-a-day job. These officers are attached to these dogs. Their families are attached to these dogs. And it's kind of one of those things you never get a break from. So it's something that we very much do appreciate. And it's something that we should, like I said, take a moment when they retire to say thank you for the work that they do. Before we move on, in the interest of making sure that I do recognize those officers that retired, we do have officers that still work for the department who have retired dogs, and I just want to mention them here this evening. We have Lieutenant Brian Hernicane, who is here this evening. He actually worked 2 dogs, Boris and Boots. And just so you know, these dogs work typically anywhere from 7 to 8 years. So when you're talking 2 dogs, you're talking an extreme amount of time handling a dog and an extreme amount of service to the department. Detective Chris Miller is still with us. He retired. Ozzy, Lieutenant Weber retired. His canine partner Brom, and Lieutenant Steve Hamoki retired. Uday and Jack. So he worked 2 dogs as well. So what I'd like to do before we actually read the citation again, I was going to have Sergeant Ryan Celia, who is in charge of our K-9 unit, come up and just say a few words about Officer McGuigan and his partner, and then we can move into the citation.
K-9 Taco was born in Slovakia in July of 2010 and entered service with the Easton Police Department in July of 2011. K-9 Taco completed his 160 hours of certification training at Castle K-9, which is in Carlisle, Pennsylvania, in October of 2011, and was certified by the National American Police Work Dog Association and the Pennsylvania Police Work Dog Association. K-9 Taco was assigned to Officer Phil McGuigan, a 4-year veteran of the department. Officer McGuigan and K-9 Taco were assigned to the Patrol Division. Taco is now over 9 years old, and his time to retire from law enforcement has arrived. During his time serving the citizens of Easton, Taco has been called into service hundreds of times, finding narcotics, firearms, criminals, and other items of evidentiary value. Taco participated in many can demonstrations and was an invaluable member of the Easton Police Department team. With the exception of a few minor aches and pains, Taco is retiring in good health. Taco has given the Easton Police Department and its citizens his best. In retirement, Taco is looking forward to sleeping in, overeating, and daily affections of the McGuigan family. So that was a press release. I just want to thank Officer McGuigan and Taco. I work with them since he's been on the unit this whole time. Taco was actually the hit. Every demonstration we did, all the kids wanted to see Taco. They love Taco. Whenever you said Taco's here or Taco's not there, you got smiles or sad faces. So, yeah, I just want to thank Bill and Taco. And I've been on the receiving end quite a few times. That's why he keeps staring at me, I think.
And now I would ask Cap if you could read that again. I would appreciate it.
Okay, this is a certificate of appreciation presented to Taco from City Council on behalf of the citizens of Easton for his years of service to the City of Easton in the Easton Police Department K-9 Unit from 2011 to 2019. Presented this 25th day of September 2019 when signed by the mayor and all of City Council.
Officer McGuigan and Taco, thank you very much.
A little bigger than the dogs you had, Sandy.
Oh, he could beat 10 of my dogs.
Lots of food, Taco.
Thank you, everybody.
Ready to work.
He wanted to say he can't wait to get home.
Ready to work.
Ryan,
Yeah.
Ryan, that's not for you.
Or Tom. I have the presidents here. Yeah, you're gonna do that now, please? Vasquez, or?
I believe next on the agenda is going to be the Citizen Award.
Civilian Service Award.
Yes, sir. And I'm going to call Captain Matt Lahenitz to present that.
Good evening, Captain Lahenitz, Easton Police Department, 48 North 4th Street. Tonight, we're going to take the opportunity to thank one of our citizens for his dedicated service, although not sworn service, but we certainly always appreciate all the help that we can get from the public. So with that said, Mr. Vasquez, can you please step up? Thank you. So the Civilian Service Award, whereas the awards and the citation committee of the Easton Police Department cites a deserving citizen in recognition of and appreciation for an outstanding act of public service, whereas Francisco Vasquez was recommended for this honor and found worthy. Now, therefore, be it known and proclaimed that Francisco Vasquez is hereby recognized and awarded the Civilian Service Award. On June 23rd, 2019, the Easton Police Department responded to the area of the 900 block of West Wilkes-Barre Street for a disturbance call. Upon arrival, officers located a vehicle in the roadway with the driver's side door ajar. A nearby witness advised police that they believed the person in the vehicle to be deceased. As Sergeant Osetnik approached the vehicle, he observed a male slumped over in the front seat. Another witness advised that there may also be a person in the area that had a gun, making an already chaotic scene now more dangerous to those around. Another civilian in the area, Francisco Vasquez, remained in the area during the incident. Officers who were also on scene moved to address the potentially armed person in the vicinity, leaving Sergeant Osetnik to deal with the unconscious male alone. Sergeant Osetnik quickly identified the unconscious male as suffering from a heroin overdose. In order to administer life-saving Narcan, Sergeant Osetnik had to remove the male from the vehicle. Without concern for his own safety, Mr. Vasquez immediately went to assist the sergeant. the victim was able to be safely removed from the vehicle and given the medical attention needed to survive. Without the assistance of Mr. Vasquez, the male may not have been able to be moved without further injury, and care would have been delayed, and possibly not survive the incident. Mr. Vasquez exemplifies the qualities of a caring and concerned citizen of the city of Easton, who is willing to go above and beyond that which is expected of the public. And his efforts that night were essential to saving the life of the victim of a drug overdose. For his outstanding efforts, Mr. Francisco Vasquez is awarded the Civilian Service Award by the Easton Police Department. Congratulations. Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your service, your help. And we're adding, since this is really a police officers' meeting, the beginning of the meeting, I'd like to call on the chief to talk about the reaccreditation and introduce our special guest from Harrisburg.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to begin with, everybody on City Council knows how important the accreditation process is, not only to myself, to the members of the department, but to the city as a whole. We've been accredited since 2007, so this is our 12th year now in the accreditation process, and I believe it's been instrumental in leading the department in the direction that we've gone over the past 12 years. What I'd like to do is speak a little bit about our accreditation manager, and then I'm going to call him up just to speak a little bit about the accreditation process, just to refresh your memories exactly what it is and what we do and how we utilize the process. The accreditation manager is Brian Herneke. This is actually his third accreditation or reaccreditation, and we get reaccredited every 3 years, so he's been doing this for quite a while, and it's an extensive process. Obviously, the accreditation process as a whole is departmental. Every single officer plays a role in it. It's a lot of work by all the officers, a lot of policies and procedures, and credit should go to the entire department. But to manage this process is extreme. Basically, it is a daily job of doing nothing but ensuring that this department is doing everything in the best possible way we can, following the best policies and practices as put forth in the policies which are deemed appropriate by the Pennsylvania Chiefs of Police Association. Brian has done an outstanding job in this capacity. I could not ask for anybody to do a better job in managing this process. So I'll call him forward now. I'm going to have him speak a little bit about it, and then I'll introduce Dick Hammond, who will present the actual reaccreditation plaque. Ron Hurricane.
Lieutenant Brian Hurricane, Easton Police Department, 48 North 4th Street. So as the chief said, in 2007, we received our first accreditation. In doing so, we made a commitment that every 3 years we would have other command staff, chiefs, lieutenants, captains, and other members of outside agencies come into our department and essentially evaluate us. In that evaluation process, every 3 years I have to show, we have over 300 standards that we have to prove. We have to show 2 proofs for each standard, so we have to usually show over 600 documents per year for 3 years. So 1,800 documents we have to show that we're following federal law, state law, and the best practices of law enforcement. As the chief said, this was my third. This is our 4th reaccreditation that we have received over that time. The other thing that I'd kind of like to bring to light is that we are only one of 117 departments out of over 1,200 departments in the state of Pennsylvania that are accredited through the Pennsylvania Chiefs of Police Association.
That's quite an accomplishment.
Well, Lieutenant, I can tell you that when I attended the wrap-up session with your evaluators, they were not only complimentary about the department, they said it was probably the best department they ever evaluated. And that's a credit to all of you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so I would like to have the chief step back up and introduce Mr. Hammond.
One other thing about Brian before we move on is the buy-in that we give to this whole process and program. Brian actually has become an assessor for the PA chiefs as well. So he actually goes to other departments and does the assessments for them. It's valuable to us because his knowledge of the program obviously becomes enhanced, but also valuable to the program because that's kind of how this all works. We help each other out to make sure that everybody's doing exactly what they need to do. So who I'm going to introduce now, it's Dick Hammond. Dick Hammond is the coordinator of the accreditation process for the PA Chiefs of Police. He's been in law enforcement since 1974. He's been the chief of 2 police departments, and he's been with the PA Chiefs for about 10 years. He was actually the person who responded to our department back in 2004 when they began looking at the process as something that may help our department. So he was here from the very beginning. He knows our department inside and out. I've known him for the better part of 12, 13, 14 years now. And he's been great. He's been an extreme asset to us as far as moving through this process and helping us every step of the way. So I'd like to call him forward, Dick Hammond.
Thank you, Chief. It's Hammond, Hammon,
Thank you, sir.
3905 North Front Street in Harrisburg.
Good.
It's PA Chiefs Association. So if I had notes, I would have started checking them off when these two started talking. I think they hit everything. So I do want to say, the Chief alluded to the fact that I was here in 2004, 3 chiefs ago, and I was asked to come up to look at the department, talk to the chief, talk to a couple guys in the department regarding accreditation. I'm not sure how to say this, but when I left, I didn't really think this was going to happen. I mean, anybody here that was here then knows that it was a different police department. But to the credit of the incoming chief, 3 years later, and Lieutenant Scalzo at that time, you did become accredited. And that was the first year, and as was stated, every 3 years since then, we've done this, and this is the 4th one. It was mentioned that I started on the job in 1974, and I started dyeing my hair just a couple years ago here. My wife says it's falling out back, but I can't see that, so I don't believe it.
I resemble that.
So, yeah. But I've seen changes, to say the least, as you all have in your professions. And one of the changes that sticks with me is the City of Easton's police department. You can all be very, very proud of this police department. When I was here in 2004, 15 years later, I'm standing here, it's not the same place. And you have a wonderful group of command staff, a wonderful group of officers, and the council. Council can smother a good chief. It's obvious that you let a progressive man do his job, what you've hired him for. Yeah, I think he's done an outstanding job from what I see. As he said, I've known him for 13 years, plus or minus. Been in and out of the city occasionally during that time with the accreditation program. And it takes you and the chief to make a department like it is today. So I would congratulate you as council for recognizing the fact that you hired somebody that can do the job and you let them do it. I'm sure every day is not wine and roses. Sometimes somebody might not agree with what the other one does, but at the end of the day, it's all for the good of Easton. And it's very evident, and anybody associated with it should be extremely proud of where this department is today versus 15 years ago. So I have the reaccreditation certificate that I would like to present to. I didn't talk to the chief, but certainly, Mayor, I think it's appropriate that council gets in on this because it is a joint thing, not just a police thing, even though it says police on it. So if we can present it to you.
Want the rest of council join me? Colleagues, join me.
The 2 guys out first. Come up here next to the mayor.
that's it for us. Thank you very much. Again, we appreciate the time.
Thank you, and thank you, officers, for coming to show your support. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, we have another presentation by two young ladies who are a little introverted, so you have to watch out for them. From the Greater Lehigh Valley Chamber of Commerce, the Easton branch. Come on up, ladies, Lauren and Lori.
Thank
How's
you
that
so
baby
much,
doing?
Mayor
She's
Panto.
awesome. Thank you for asking.
I haven't seen you.
Gotta know.
She sleeps all through the night. I know I'm not supposed to say that, but she literally has been sleeping since 6 weeks
Well,
through the night. I know, not
wait,
on wood, right?
the second one won't be that way.
I'm told that's how it'll be.
That's my granddaughter.
Congratulations.
3 days old.
Oh my goodness. Congrats. What's the baby's name?
Amelia.
Amelia Rose, Emmy.
Oh, my baby's middle name is Rose too. Great middle name.
That's right.
All right, guys, let's get down to business. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, Mayor Panto, for having us, and Louis Campos, City Administrator, for getting us on the agenda. My name is Lauren Spence. That's LaurenSpence, and I am the Assistant Vice President of the Easton Area Chamber of Commerce. And we're here tonight to go on the record to say thank you so much to Mayor Panto, the City of Easton, City Council, City Administrator Lewis, and the entire city staff for all of your assistance leading up to our Easton PA Veg Fest. For those of you who don't know, this was the first year that this festival was held in downtown Easton, right in Scott Park and on Larry Holmes Drive. It was held September 7th, and in my humble opinion, I think you can agree, it was such a success. I mean, we had over 70 vendors. We had approximately 5,000 people down here in our downtown, patronizing all our downtown businesses, and it was just a beautiful day. And it would not have been possible without you, Mayor Panto, and the support of this amazing city and all its staff, from the police department who was there from sunup to sundown, managing the flow of traffic, to the Department of Public Works, and just everyone. So we really wanted to come here tonight and to go on the record to thank you and the entire city of Easton for your contributions to the success. So thank you very much.
It was very busy that
It was,
day.
it was very nice.
This is a great event.
Lori Nelson, Easton Chamber of Commerce. And also, in addition to what Lauren just said, we just wanted to shout out that we have our Halloween parade coming up, which we take great pride in planning every year. So it comes over from the other side of the river, Phillipsburg, Easton this year. But since we're on this side, I'll say Easton Phillipsburg Halloween parade, starting on McKean Street, kicking off of Howard, and then, of course, ending in front of 3rd Street Alliance. If anyone is interested in joining, please send them our way. And then also, we have our inside look of the Commodore Project at 100 Northampton Street with Garrett Vassell. We've been working with Kudu Creative and Sarah Clark to get that in motion. And pretty much, if you're welcome to come out, it's a free event to see what the plans are for that location. So
When is that?
it is on October 30th at 5:30.
Okay.
Yeah. We have the flyers.
Your first name again?
Lori, Laurie.
Oh.
Nelson.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank
ladies.
you, Lori.
Thank you
Thank
for all
you.
and thank you for all you do for us.
Yeah.
Because you are
You are user
Very-
cheerleaders.
very energetic and always there when we need help. And I appreciate the efforts that you have. The State of the City coming up again next year. So all that's really, we really appreciate all you do for us.
It's our absolute pleasure. Thank you so much,
Thank
Mayor.
you.
Thank you. Do you want me to run those over?
Okay. At this time, we're at the point of our agenda where we have public comment on agenda items only. There will be time at the end of the agenda, at the end of the meeting, for anybody that wants to speak on any concern or comment or question they have about the City of Easton. Anyone like to address any of the comments for agenda items? Seeing none, we'll move on to consent agenda, Mr. Clerk.
Okay, on the consent agenda, we have bill number 25, which is amending Article 3, Traffic Control Map of Chapter 560, Vehicles and Traffic. We have 8 resolutions for certificates of appropriateness for 20 North 3rd, 124 North 4th, 136 Bushkill Street, for multiple addresses for the murals, 301, 303 Northampton Street, 228 Northampton Street, 321 Northampton Street, 360 Northampton Street, and also 2 resolutions, one for DEC grant application, and the other, I'm not really sure what that's all about.
to be designated a Keystone.
Easton
Keystone
Main
Opportunity,
Street?
yeah, Main Street.
Okay.
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion? I'd just like to say that every month we're doing more and more of these certificates of appropriateness, and it just shows you how much work is being done in our local historic district, so we're really proud of that. And last night we did have a presentation on the new historic district guidelines that Mr. Narowski and the HDC is working on, so a lot of good things coming from that organization. Roll call.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mr. Milan?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Volcano?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye. There's no reports received by council tonight, so we'll go move right on to the Finance Committee. Councilmember Brown.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a couple things this evening. I just want to report that Financial Committee met yesterday in reference to the Tenant Utility Bill Act and received today from Councilmember Milan the new changes. Also this evening, I have Bill 29, which is amending the 2019 Highway and Liquid Fuel budget. Bill 30, which is amending the Recreation Fund budget. And I have two resolutions coming in through, MMOs, one for the city management and MMO for the police and fire. That is my report for this evening.
Thank you, Councilmember Brown. Economic Development Committee, Councilmember Volcano.
Thank you, Mayor. Last evening at our committee meeting, we did have a presentation on the Black Diamond property that is going to be starting to move rather quickly, as we were told. So that's very happily in my frame of mind, because I've been waiting for this to begin for a very long time. I see Mr. Robinson is in the audience again. Thank you for coming. And last night we heard from the developer, and we also heard from the, who else was here? Pearl,
The residential
the
development.
residential, management team. So we're looking forward to that, and that's all I have to say.
And as Councilwoman Volcano said, I've been waiting for a long time too. That actually took me back to pre-here. Now that Bald and Bold is here.
Bald and bold.
Balls and bold?
Planning Codes Committee, Councilmember O'Connell.
Thank you, Mayor. Last evening, we did have a planning meeting regarding the new guidelines for the Historic District Commission. The new guidelines clarify and expand on the existing guidelines and should make the task of renovating or changing historic properties more streamlined. Thank you.
Thank you. Public Safety Committee, Councilmember Milan.
I have nothing, Mayor.
All right. Public Works Committee, Councilmember Ruggles.
I have no report tonight.
Administration Committee, Councilman Ettinger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a few things. The administration will be hosting local area municipal IT professionals and administrators to discuss IT policies, procedures, and ransomware. The meeting will be held in council chambers here on October 9th from 8 a.m. to noon. The purpose of the meeting is to discuss best practices and collaborate with other municipal administrators as they cope with greater dependence on IT systems and changes within the industry. If anybody's interested in attending, you can contact Lois, the city administrator. The event will be sponsored by RCN, and there will be a minimum fee of $5 per person to attend. Also, the administration is making final edits to the new website and would like to share a preview with council members. An email will be sent to all council members with a link to review the website and provide any feedback regarding content. Upon review and final edits, it is the intent of the administration to go live by the next council meeting. The administration committee will be meeting on October 8th to discuss the following IT issues: the VoIP system upgrade, Office 365, and I know, Christine, you were interested in the private fiber network. That's going to be on the 8th at 6 o'clock that we'll be discussing that. Parking technology upgrades, and we also have a census update. The administration attended a Census Regional Committee meeting to discuss updates with the Lehigh Valley municipalities regarding their individual and valley-wide census efforts. The meeting was held at the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission offices. City of Easton will be holding its second census meeting on October 9th as well. That's at 2 p.m. In attendance will be Norman Bristol Cologne, Executive Director of the Governor's Census 2020 Complete Count Commission, Norman will be discussing statewide census efforts. The administration will begin developing of short PSAs that will be in both Spanish and English, and a more detailed overview of the city strategy will be provided at that time. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Any questions for Councilman Ettinger? Moving on, Solicitor's report.
We have no report right now, but I'm deferring to your report to introduce me.
Why don't I introduce you, Mr. Shear, now to talk about the lawsuit that just went, duplicity of the lawsuits.
Well, yeah, I just want to report that as today, you're all familiar with the fact that the city's been defending an action in a federal court dealing with Adams Outdoor, alleging that based on a settlement years ago, they have a right to put up a billboard essentially anywhere in the city, and that's been disputed, and that's in front of Judge Smith. Recently, or within the past year, there's been an application to put up a 150 square foot digital sign, which they prefer to call a projecting sign. We prefer to call an off-premises sign, which is a billboard right in the circle where I'll call it the old Easton National Bank building, because it dates back to when I came here and was in that building for 20 years. The zoning hearing board denied the request for variances, and today the applicant, Adams Outdoor, filed a notice of appeal. In Common Pleas Court, and also filed pleadings in federal court alleging First Amendment violations and other constitutional grounds. Attorney Steve Hoffman has been representing the city of Easton on the other case, and we have every reason to believe, we've been in touch with him, that he will represent the city's interest. Whether it's ripe for that aspect to be in federal court or not is something to be determined. But as far as the zoning hearing board appeal, I will file, unless there's objections, to an intervention on behalf of the city of Easton, and Mr. Nitschke, who's the zoning hearing board solicitor, would be defending his adjudication and the zoning board's adjudication as well. So he would take primary, but I would be presenting an argument as well, consistent with my appearances during the 4 nights of hearings on this matter, where the city did take an active role in opposition to the request.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Shear? Moving on to the rest of my committee report. I want to report that the 185 committee met last week. There are a large number of people on that, about 17 or 18 plus city staff, which will be, again, they will have no voting rights. The proposals are due in on Friday. They will be reviewed by staff to make sure they meet all the standards and specifications of the RFP, and then they'll be sent out to the various members of the committee for our first meeting, which will be to go through every one of the applications and determine, the committee will determine who they want to bring in for an interview and who they don't want to bring in for an interview. That will be their choice. And then they'll set up interviews depending on the number of developers that are interested in that site. We will then have them call all the developers by interviewing them and basically come down to a recommendation to city council. Once it comes to the recommendation comes to city council, that becomes a public document, and the council will hold public hearings, public meetings. I shouldn't say hearings. There's no such thing as a public hearing unless there's a stenographer here. Public meetings where the public will be invited to come review the proposal and give its feedback, like it did with the Boyd Theater lot on North 3rd Street, which has now received HDC approvals on their way to making major changes during the course of that last couple of months, and I guess they're on the agenda for next month. So that's good. Also, last week, the Affordable Housing Task Force met. I have Reverend Ruggles, Teresa Martin, Youssef Dahl, Ross Marcus, Neil Copeland, Amy Bacadoro, Jean Pambianchi, Kathy Presto, Jeff Pock, Alyssa Barada, and Kirk Carlson on that committee. Their job is being research arm of the city to research what works, what doesn't work, in anticipation of what could be an affordable housing crisis in the future. We I did a real quick review of apartments that were for rent and houses that were for sale. I found 15 apartments under $800, and I found 25 houses under $120,000 that are listed right now. But that's changing, and we know it's going to change. Mr. Robinson's project on the south side is going to help us immensely. There's 55 units there that will be affordable housing, 80% of median income, 60% of median income, all the way down to 20% of median income. Number of units for each one of those socioeconomic stratas. So we're very happy that that project is finally coming to fruition. We heard last night that the environmental cleanup will begin in November, and demolition of the structures except for the powerhouse, and construction will start as early as next May. And that's all pretty much in the timeline of what the state has allowed for the various grants that they're receiving. Also, last week, the Easton Community Partners Forum Planning Committee met. And that's the meeting that was held up at Lafayette by President Byerly and myself, of the committee that's going to direct the liaison between the community and the college and host forums at least twice a year, I think it is, right, Melissa? And Lewis is on that committee. David Hopkins represents the city of Easton. Rachel Hogan Carr is on that committee. Jared Mass, Kathy Presto from the Easton Area Community Center and a College Hill resident. Dick McAteer, College Hill resident. And then from the college is Melissa, who's here this evening, and John O'Keefe, who's been a big help to us as well for all of our IT stuff. So that's really good. Also, I do have a press release for the police accreditation here that was given to me. The utility billing ordinance, as was suggested last night, the administration will be presenting a report to City Council. The weekend events this past weekend, if you were in Easton, you know that it was just huge. And we have big ones coming up. Next weekend is Garlic Fest, and a month later is Bacon Fest. So we're really excited about that. Budget presentation is next Tuesday, October 1st at 6 p.m. Some people will have to leave immediately to go to a 6:30 candidates night. I'm basically just going to tell them I'm going to be late because I don't think I'll get there before 7 o'clock. So that's the budget presentation that we're still working on, and we'll present that next Tuesday, which is by charter October 1st.
Is that at 6 o'clock, Mayor?
Yes.
That's at 6 o'clock, yes. I don't know if the public noticed, but we did roll out on Friday our police body cameras. All of the police officers here had body cameras, and it is going to be, they were well received by the police officers because it now has an accurate audio visual of every incident that they're involved in, and all these frivolous lawsuits that are starting to appear again by certain members of the legal field will come to an end. The high definition, it leaves nothing to chance. It's really decent. So we're really happy about the police cameras. We've had a grant to pay for them, so that's even better. And we're happy that the Department of Justice has changed the law that allows them to go into a building with the camera on. Originally, the ACLU brought a charge against the use of them in private property. So we're very excited about that. It keeps everyone honest. And we think that it'll really put an end to our frivolous lawsuits. So that moves on to our new business, Mr. Clerk, because we have no correspondence and no unfinished business.
All right, so we have bill number 28 being introduced by Roger Ruggles, an ordinance vacating Lurch Court and Duke Court and repealing ordinances inconsistent herewith.
So introduced.
We have bill number 29 being introduced by Ken Brown, amending the 2019 Highway Aid Liquid Fuels Fund budget.
So introduced.
We have bill number 30 being introduced by Kenneth Brown, amending the 2019 Recreation Fund budget.
So introduced.
Hold on, I'm sorry. We have bill number 31. This was all made up when I was on vacation. This is improving an agreement among the City of Easton, the Mill of Easton LLC, and Stork Silk Mill Redevelopment Partnership with respect to the real estate bounded by Lincoln Street, Cole Street, Milton Street, Storm Alley, situate within the City of Easton, Northampton County, Pennsylvania, having a Northampton County property identification number of M9NE1B-11-1, also known as 430 West Lincoln Street, formerly known as the Black Diamond Site, as well as the related agreements and instruments attached as exhibits to said agreement, and I believe this should be introduced by Mrs. Volcano.
So moved.
Introduced.
Oh, I'm sorry,
introduced.
introduced.
Okay, we have a resolution being introduced by Roger Ruggles. Resolved that the Council of the City of Easton, Pennsylvania approves a contract, copy attached here too, between the City of Easton and CMR Construction Incorporated in the amount of $163,900 for the installation of a pedestrian bridge over the Bushkill Creek connecting the Carl Sterner Arts Trail with the Silk Mill. Be it further resolved that council authorizes the mayor and city controller to sign said agreement on behalf of the city and the city clerk to attest the same.
So move.
Moved in second, discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Milan.
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell.
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles.
Aye.
Mrs. Volcano.
Aye.
Mayor Panto.
Aye.
Mr. Brown.
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger.
Aye.
Okay, we have a resolution being introduced by Sandra Volcano. Resolved that the council of the city of Easton, Pennsylvania authorizes the city administration to apply for a Monroe County local share account grant in the amount of $150,000 from Commonwealth of Pennsylvania / Commonwealth Financing Authority to be utilized for improvements to Centennial Park. Be it further resolved that the council of the city of Easton, Pennsylvania does hereby designate Mayor Salvatore J. Panto Jr. as the official to execute all documents and agreements between the city of Easton, Pennsylvania and the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania Commonwealth Financing Authority to facilitate and assist in obtaining the requested grant.
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second, discussion. Roll call.
Mr. O'Connell.
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles.
Aye.
Mrs. Volcano.
Aye.
Mayor Panto.
Aye.
Mr. Brown.
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger.
Aye.
Mr. Milan.
Aye.
Okay, hold on just a minute. We have another resolution being introduced by David O'Connell. Resolved that the council of the city of Easton, Pennsylvania approves an agreement, copy attached here too, between the city of Easton and Property Registration Champions, LLC, doing business as Pro Champs to provide services consisting of registering vacant, blighted, and foreclosed properties in order to efficiently address the issues related to the maintenance of these properties. Be it further resolved that council authorizes the mayor and city controller to sign said agreement on behalf of the city and the city clerk to attest the same.
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second, discussion. Roll call.
Dr. Ruggles.
Aye.
Mrs. Volcano.
Aye.
Mayor Panto.
Aye.
Mr. Brown.
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger.
Aye.
Mr. Milan.
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell.
Aye.
Excuse me. We have another resolution being introduced by David O'Connell. Whereas the council of the city of Easton recognizes that the city needed to provide necessary updates to the local historic district guidelines. And whereas the city of Easton received a grant from the Certified Local Government Program for the new design guidelines. And whereas Artifact Incorporated was contracted to create the new design guidelines for the local Historic District Commission. Now therefore be it resolved that the council of the city of Easton, Northampton County, hereby approves the new Historic District Commission design guidelines.
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second, discussion. Roll call.
Mrs. Volcano.
Aye.
Mayor Panto.
Aye.
Mr. Brown.
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger.
Aye.
Mr. Milan.
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell.
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles.
Aye.
Okay, we have a resolution being introduced by Kenneth Brown. Resolved by the council of the city of Easton, Pennsylvania, that pursuant to Act 205 of 1984, the city administrator has certified to the following 2020 minimum municipal obligations of the city for the city-managed pension funds. And that is $1,525,438 for the fire pension, $437,370 for the officers and employees pension, and $2,884,612 for the police relief and pension, for a total of $4,847. I'm sorry, $4,847,420 for a total.
I'll take the change.
Be it further resolved that the city council recognizes the minimum municipal obligation submitted as valid for purposes of preparing the various 2020 city operating budgets.
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved in second, discussion. Roll call.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mr. Milan?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Volcano?
Aye.
We have a resolution being introduced by Kenneth Brown. Resolved that the Council of the City of Easton, Pennsylvania, that pursuant to Act 205 of 1984, the city administrator has certified to the following 2020 minimum municipal obligation of the city for the PMRS managed pension funds, for a total of $504,317 for the PMS employees' pension. Be it further resolved that the City Council recognizes the minimum municipal obligations submitted as valid for purposes of preparing the various 2020 city operating budgets.
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second, discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mr. Milan?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Volcano?
Aye.
And Mayor Panto.
Aye. At this time, we're at any other business for city council members? Look at Mrs. Volcano ready to go to her show at the State Theater.
We got time.
Yeah, so I told you we're done.
We got plenty.
Anybody from the public at this time, we have any comment at all on any topic? Comment, question, concerns, come up to the podium, give your name and address, and you can address city council. Over at podium.
It's okay.
It's
We don't,
okay.
we
We
don't
don't
bite
bite.
or anything.
No, not at all. First of all, my name is Pamela Piorko,
Spell the last name, please.
Piorko.
Piorko.
Yeah, Pamela,
Yep. And your address.
443 Northampton Street, apartment 4, Easton, PA.
Thank you.
First of all, I'd like to say, for the last 4 years, my second time back here in Easton, it's been a great honor and a privilege to see how beautiful the city's becoming. The history, the business, the people. I'm just overwhelmed. I just have the privilege of enjoying watching the city grow and the spirit of people. It's been really an honor, and how hard you all have worked. I mean, I have seen when it had the bus stops, and now they're gone, et cetera, et cetera. My main concern is that I am here on behalf for the children and the family to speak upon Crayola Factory area. I have been doing surveys on my own with people coming into the city, people living in the city, and been watching on my own. It just came to my attention one day. I saw children coughing, people walking away because they didn't have a place to sit. And it was really, really sad. And then also I looked at the other side where the people that are there, they don't really have a place to sit or a garden of their own, because most of them, if I can kindly say, they live at the hotel on 4th Street. And I learned, just because I've been enjoying watching the city grow and the buildings being torn down, and I just love business. I love history. It's my hobby, antiques. I had the opportunity one day going to the laundromat, and I saw some work being done on Northampton Street next to the Rock Church. There was a gentleman there with a bulldozer, and, we just happened to have a conversation, and I learned that he says, we're really working hard on this building, and we're waiting on plumbing, and I'm not gonna get into too many details, because I'm sure the city knows, but that lot is owned by the Lafayette Hotel. That's a solution for the people who live there. They can probably turn that into like a nice garden area. It's something positive for the people so they can get out and get some fresh air instead of being at the Crayola factory, because the bricks belong to the Crayola factory. And I've said to so many people, you really shouldn't be hanging out here. It's for the children. And I didn't get too many kind remarks. And I kept saying, you shouldn't really be hanging out here. This is for the children. And I got a lot of negative responses. And on my way to the meeting tonight, there was at least 13 people sitting there and just smoking, don't care. And these are adults. And Crayola Factory, correct me if I'm wrong, is like the only place for the children to be in Center Square. And then they just opened up a children's bookstore. So I'm encouraging that the Easton Police encourages the people to please not hang out there. It does, that the bricks do belong to the Crayola factory. They have said this is public. No, it's not. The bricks belong to the Crayola factory. The walkway, and you can walk. Just like where I live, I can sit in front of my building, and because my landlord is he's responsible for that sidewalk, and people can walk there. So that's my main concern. I really hope the city does something about it, for Crayola Factory, for the children, for the family. People spend between $100 and $250 a visit. They want to go out and they want to sit at the Crayola Factory. Sometimes they pack lunches, sometimes they don't. And I've seen people walk away sad because they had no place to sit, because these, I don't mean to say these.
Excuse me, ma'am, could you wrap it up though?
Yeah,
5 minutes
so
are up.
that's my concern.
I can just tell you that about maybe 6 years ago, 7 years ago, City Council did lease that space to Crayola. Crayola has chosen not to put no loitering signs there and not to move the people from there. So it's kind of hard for the city police officers to do that. However, if they get loud or vulgar, then we do. But I'll speak to Crayola again. Maybe they want to change that policy, but it really is, we leased it to them so that we could control that crowd, and they've chosen not to.
I spoke to the manager, and he said he was going to address the general manager, and that's where I learned.
Okay.
So, I mean, I understand being a peacemaker. I understand that. But it's for the children.
Mm-hmm.
This is mind-boggling. That's my main concern.
Well, we appreciate it, Pamela.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank
your
you
nice
very
words
much.
about
Thank
the
you.
crowd also. Anyone else like to address City Council on any agenda items? How many students we have here? Raise your hands. 3. Oh,
I have the test for them, Mayor.
Yeah.
Okay.
oh, it's at least a GEDP. That's right. I'm sorry. Thank you, Mr. Hopkins. Okay, move for adjournment.
So
Tho- Those that want to come up, then we can
Second.
sign it.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, who moved it?
Dr. Ruggles.
And I second it.
Second.
Mr. Milan?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Volcano?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Thank you, Mayor. I will enjoy
It's
this.
at least the GEDP who leases
Uh,
it to
Go
Crayola.
with your girls.
That whole.
Yeah, we're like 11 watching it tonight.
Tell everybody I
We
said
got a
hello.
whole row.
And you can't take candy in there, Sandra.
What can we say?
Either can
You can't sit on the public property.
Coach Childs, huh?
That's good.
You're back, huh?